talking about primate and non-mentality. And I wanted to talk about what I wrote down. I wrote down some notes and things, and then I'll get more into it. So I started this when I was thinking about how people react to sick people. People really do not treat the sick well. It's very well known, very well documented by reliable sources that people demonize the sick, blame the sick whenever there's something, treat them with less respect. And it's what people do. Give me a moment to just bring up the essay. So I titled this The Mutability of Values. So I'm going to just type in mutability, just get a definition real quick, just to help me out. The quality of being immutable, the state or condition of being unchangeable. That's dictionary.com. Merriam-Webster says immutability means comes from the Middle English, from Latin immutabilis, meaning not capable of or susceptible to change. So it means not capable of or susceptible to change. Okay, so now we have a definition for you of immutability. Not capable of nor susceptible to change. So I started off by talking about the old childhood first picture of how much people can't stand sickness in other people, real illness, sickness, suffering, physical suffering. So the problem that we see first when we're kids, we're on the playground, when we're all in these little classrooms, probably too many kids. It's the old cooties. The cooties. That's the thing we see first when it comes to playground issues and division of the sexes and so on. We see kids passing along the news that so-and-so has cooties, and anyone somewhere sitting and doing their own thing, whether or not they're minding their own business or not, whether or not they're sincerely not causing anyone problems like at all, not getting mixed up in other people's dramas or issues, or not stealing people's food, not sharing food even, maybe, not making messes, not eating glue, eating crayons, eating their own boogers. I'm sorry, I had to say it. Because there were kids who did that. And anytime anyone did something different, in any use of that word, anything different, and also anything bad or gross, all of these people, both kids in both groups, something different but not hurting anyone, but also something different and definitely spreading around germs and just nasty ideas and habits. And you start saying that these kids have cooties, and it's the cooties. And it just gets spread like wildfire, this idea, so-and-so has cooties, and so-and-so is nasty and gross. And it just gets worse and worse. Now they start saying all boys have cooties, and then the next week, for no particular reason, it becomes, oh, all girls have cooties. And then it's like, if you have yellow shoes on, you have cooties. Okay? It's weird. It doesn't have any kind of, it doesn't have any reliable interpretation mechanism. It's just something that society, the little micro society in the classroom, has decided on. This such and such subject is now the carrier of the cootie. So that's the first germ that you become aware of. When you're a kid, it's this thing that can't be pigment. It can't be brought into a box. Can't be tied down. It can't be tied down. So it's the cooties. It's the cooties. Somebody got the cooties. Oh, that weird person. Always tying their own shoes. They got the cooties. So that's something that you see. That's something that you see. I think that's the first way you see people starting to subjugate people who are doing something more strange or different. They start saying that person is a carrier of illness. That's the first thing children will do. And you see it from a really young age. Classrooms of kids that have 4 or 5-year-olds. And it's an obsession, it's a mass trend, and that's hysteria in a nutshell. In a micro picture, you see that the first thing that they'll do to make a group less monetarily powerful, less having resources, try to take everything away, try to ruin their reputation. They'll say they have an illness, they are sick. So that's how I start out this essay about the immutability of virus. So that has to do with people deciding to destroy a character by calling them ill. And that will take away what we believe to be solid about a person. That will take away our idea of their stability. We will be able to say that it's okay to bully them, take their belongings, destroy them, or destroy their character, destroy their reputation with the teachers, the TAs, the other students, their family, their friends. We will ostracize them and obliterate them with the power of a single term, which is cooties, germs. So you will say that a person cannot be strong because you've said they're sick, and if they're sick, it's their fault. It's an old, fundamentalist religious concept that the sick can't be strong, that if you're sick, you break your leg, it's your fault, and it actually shows something about your personality that is heathen or sinful because you suffered an accident. So accidents are considered to show something about your character that is flawed. That's the idea that, somehow you don't deserve to be considered whole if you've had something bad happen in your life. And for some reason, it's easier to just throw out the baby with the bathwater there. It's easier to show people that you would be happy to eliminate someone, as though it's bad luck to have someone in your presence who's experienced a single accident in being alive for several years of their life. That's the idea, that you're wrong and not worthy of friendship if you are the possessor of an experience that was less than pleasant. That means that you yourself deserve to not be allowed in our super elite groups. So a lot of this essay is me discussing a certain situation I witnessed when I was briefly in an office setting, in a place I worked for a few months. Pretty respectable place. Basically, an office environment that was in no danger of being immediately shut down or anything like that. Pretty well established. And I wanted to talk about how cooties and germs and the nastiness, it's not necessarily directed at the people that it ought to be directed at for the purpose of getting them to clean up their act, but rather it's abused and thrown about unusefully. And I'm just going to make this quick since I've been recording all day. So it's just a very simple story, okay? I've just started working at this job, and I have a peer group of people my age group, and we all go to lunch. It's probably been about a week. I've been there about a week or so. I go out with them to an office lunch, or we just grab lunch and come back to the office. And when we're going back to our desks, cubicles, it's an office with cubicles. We all kind of stop to drop off one of the coworkers at their desk area, their cubicle area, and we're standing there, and his desk, his entire cubicle is covered and stacked with junk food, fast food, paper bags, greasy bags. Some of it still has food in it. There's clearly a smell. There's a lot of crumbs there. And I really mean covered. The whole desk area in this little, open square. The entire desk surface is covered in fast food bags. It's nasty. I don't know what to make of it, especially considering this kid is my age, and yeah, he was male. I just want to put that in there. Sadly, females are trained to be cleaner, higher expectations to be cleaner, but it's still horrible to witness something this bad, this catastrophic, because that's the word I would use, catastrophic level of debris and food debris in a shared office space. So what I wanted to say was, this would be a good example of someone who needs to be called out and questioned as to why he's letting so much food just be trapped in his cubicle. It was really nasty, and it disturbed me to say the least. And we're all standing there, and no one says anything, and I have to be that person oftentimes. I have to be the person who pops this bubble of being polite, being overly polite, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of trash food. That's a lot of trash in your desk. And he says, I've worked here over 2 years. I've worked here 3 years. Nothing's gonna happen to me. Nothing's gonna happen to me. I've worked here 3 years. nothing's gonna happen to me because of all this trash I have left on my desk in this tiny cubicle in a tiny cramped office floor. That was his response to me. And this is in front of like our peer group, and you know, there's someone in there in our peer group who is also like a kind of sort of supposed to be our leader, kind of like a boss, directly in contact with our real boss about any problems, and silence, you know, nothing to say about this real mess. And that's all he could say, is that, okay, I won't get fired because I'm really dirty. And I want to segue right here to say, this is the same peer group that anytime, you know, anyone's acting more, you know, reserved or choosing not to comment on something, they're like, oh, you're being like the communist worker 2 floors down, or, you know, 2 rows down. Why are you being like such and such Eastern European name, you know, the woman, Eastern European, who's like a communist? She must be a communist. Why are you being like her? So that is who the cootie problem is in this little peer group society issue that I've just shown you. That's who we're pointing our fingers at as having the cooties, and who's going to be a scapegoat for any kind of issue we want to bring up, any office issue, anything we don't want to talk about. We're going to segue and point our finger at some random person because we think she's a communist. So this is the same group that will segue to that and have nothing to say about a real problem right before our eyes that is easily fixed, and a real issue that's like right in front of us, and it's nasty. And what is the person's defense? I've worked here long enough, I won't get fired. So all of this is to say that we are respecting our elite status position in a group and or company, institution, and not at all caring about what's really a problem. In a cramped office space cubicle environment, it's gonna spread bugs like crazy. Those places are just carpeted wall to wall, and not really a place to be anything but the neatest, okay? And your only defense here is, I've worked here and I won't get fired, as though that should be your only concern, and not at all care about the people around you that you might be harming, making sick, making allergies come about, making bad smells. See, that's gross, that's awful, and that's you caring more about your status in an institution that doesn't exist in the mundane, very real earth, you know, in the real planet that we're all breathing the air in, and you're literally letting germs just fester. And it's okay to just gloss over that because we only care about what is gonna keep our job safe, or what's gonna make our jobs look good, or what's gonna be socially polite. So that's another topic that I will get into, the idea of respectability politics, which is a direct, you know, overseeing and not confrontation of the problems right below our noses, because we gotta be polite, we gotta be respectable, so we can't be truthful at all, even in the most respectful manner. There's a difference between respectful and respectable, and one of those two only has to do with the institution and the status quo and status symbols. And it's just wrong. It's just wrong, it's nasty to only say that the worst outcome would be I lost my job, and not that I made some people sick or just feel queasy just by being in your area. That's all. Bye-bye.